I'm
What?
laughing.
I thought you said we had a new intro.
No. That was your new intro. That's what I was
Oh,
saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
all right. I'm lost. We'll
Tim,
worry
we're
about it
both
later.
old. We're both old, Tim. Forgive Tim and myself for
My
forgetting
new
what we're.
intro isn't so new anymore.
No, it's not new no more. It's not new no more. But I am working on a new one for the show. I am working
Okay.
on a new one for the show. Actually, May Pace, I want to do it. So
Hey,
I want it to be. I don't know. I just want it to be more professional.
what's the old adage? It takes money to make no money. Is that?
That's right. That's right. I want to please our viewing audience with an amazing intro, and
Yeah.
yeah, it should be fun. Well,
Okay.
everybody, welcome to another episode of Wednesday Night Live. I've been laughing at everybody in the comments there. You guys crack me up, and it's awesome to come on there super early. And then to see it's already full, and it's just like, okay, you guys, some of you guys are crazy.
That could
And
mean one of two things, John.
yeah, well,
That means that they're super excited about the show and they just want
yeah.
to make sure that they're front row, like to that concert,
Oh,
where
yeah.
everybody kind of rushes the front stage, or they just have absolutely nothing else to
They
do.
got nothing to do. Nothing to do. Hey, Curtis, Curtis is out of Facebook jail now, so he's working his way back there, though.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Curtis, I
Is
promise,
I don't
I
think
won't
he was.
entice you. I
No,
tried
Curtis.
to entice him today.
I don't think
Yeah.
Curtis is in any Facebook anythings.
Yeah, he just got out the other day, so I was trying
I
to
don't. This
entice
is
him.
so funny. I feel like we should have Facebook jail release parties and stuff like that.
We should.
Because people are just getting thrown away for like weeks now. It's like people are gone, and I'm like, what happened to them? And then they post, and they're like, I'm out of Facebook jail.
Yeah, I'm out of
I'm
jail,
like,
man.
geez, like So next time the phone rings, I guess I should just be prepared to accept the charges. Is that how this works?
It's getting there. It's getting
Okay.
there. And what's sad too is a lot of these people are getting nailed for shit they did like 2 years ago. That sucks, dude. It's like I don't even remember writing that, let alone giving.
I know it's like there should be like this is just an opinion, but I think in terms of the social media environment and stuff
Yeah.
like that, I think there should be like a statute of limitations as to like how far they can go back before they start flagging stuff. I mean, who the hell is going to find some shit that you talked about 2 years ago? No one's going to go back in your post that far or search for
Right.
something like.
Right.
You know what? Oh my god, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when John Truncali posted that thing
Easy.
about and I'm like, I'm gonna go find that because I remember that.
Yeah,
No.
unless you're running for political office, it makes absolutely no sense to go back 5 years to see what I or Tim or anyone else has said 5 years ago, dude.
Yeah, either if you're running for political office or getting ready to host an award show,
Yeah, exactly. If you're getting
then
ready to host an award,
no one gives a flying F about what we
yeah,
said years ago.
yeah, it's gotten ridiculous. I mean, I guess in a way it's okay because they kind of giving us a little slack as far as vaping stuff now, dude. So we can actually post vaping stuff.
Why? Because they're busy looking for
Yeah,
antiquated raw
we won't get nailed.
commentary.
Yeah, Tim, we won't get nailed for vape stuff for another 5 years. So,
You know what though? Well, let's realistically though, we did get flagged for some of that though. We did get like some of our videos flagged from a couple years ago because what people that were never in the group with us know that we used to do the Music Monday thing.
Yeah.
Where we would play a song and then talk about whatever, and then we would vape to a song, and then a lot of those made it through, and then like 2 years, then 2 years passes, and then we're getting these violations on our accounts, like for what? And then I'm looking, and I'm like, that was like 2018.
Yeah,
it's right there in the date, and they're you know what they're getting me for is not the vaping, it's the song.
Yeah, the song.
It's the song.
Yeah,
They get me for the copyright stuff.
Yeah. For those that don't know, a few years ago on the ZampleBox community Facebook page, we used to have Music Monday. And it was just kind of our little thing to go on, record yourself vaping while listening to a song. And it was fun. We all did it. Everybody was doing it. But then all of a sudden, Facebook just started hammering one after the other, one after the other.
Yeah, we all got snagged.
So it took away a fun thing to do, to start Monday. It was nice going in there and seeing, everybody's little video of them vaping and lip syncing to their songs, and some of us singing to our songs. So
Some and and ironically, with the wide variety of tastes that of music that were played, because it was everything from rap to punk to indie to hard rock, heavy metal. It spanned the gamut, and a lot of the stuff that we played, we kind of like went out of our way to kind of play like either obscure stuff or stuff that wasn't really all that well
back
known.
covers, yeah.
Yeah, like Fletcher would play like all his kind of crazy metal and punk stuff, and it was like I'm like I don't even know who the fuck that is. I mean, like
Yeah. Well, it made you go look them up. That's what I was doing to any group that anyone posted, and I didn't know who they were, and the song kind of got me going. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go look see who these guys are and what other music they have, and check them out on YouTube. So
yeah.
yeah. So Timmy,
No, Curtis, I haven't been sunbathing. I don't know where that was coming from. I'm not bronzing or spraying on or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just turning into what's his name, George Harrison or George some the actor.
we all know you got a makeup girl there in the background. She get your your makeup all done, ready to go.
Makeup,
makeup lady, makeup.
Okay, I'm back. All right, cool.
You just need a little more blush there on the.
I had to get a touch up there. Yeah, I was starting to melt and droop a little bit. More foundation.
Hollywood. I mean, can you imagine the spray on tan business must be booming on award nights.
You're right, Luke. It's an LED tan. That's exactly what it is. Actually, the screen above me is yellow, so that's probably why I look like I'm tan.
Yeah, and I'm white. I really need to get some sun.
You are. You're awfully pale for an Italian.
It's weird. I mean, I will do my walk, but I go so early in the morning, and it's been dark in the morning. So, but now here, I get about halfway into my walk, and the sun starts to come back up, and that's when I like to walk because nobody bothers me. And I have this old lady. She's like 62 years old, and now she started walking with me. So she's like, I feel so good walking with someone. She's got her little weights, Tim. She's in her little.
Well, I think it would seem to me that maybe, well, I don't know. Some of us went the other direction, right? Because
there you are.
Okay. COVID kind of wrecked a lot of people, right? Because we were stuck in the house all the time. But I think COVID kind of inspired a lot of people to find exercise and healthiness and getting back in touch with that, because our lives sweep us away so quickly. We get busy with all kinds of shit. So, it is what it is. But
it is. I think I'm sure you've noticed it. I think everyone's kind of sort of like here in this area, everyone's kind of sort of starting to get back into their mood, the way things used to be. I mean, the other day, I still, maybe let me ask you, do you still put your hand out for a handshake? It's still so natural thing, right?
Of course. You know what? Yeah. And I'll be honest, I have been met with some people that are like,
right.
Case in point, lady I work with at work, when I went in, and I mean, to this day, I still haven't, but I went into her office and was introduced to her, and I reached my hand out, and she said, I don't shake hands. And it's not because she just doesn't shake hands, it's because of germ transfer and stuff like that. But I absolutely stick my hand out, and I just react to how they react. Either they'll shake my hand or they'll do one of them, and I'm like, okay, bam. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I've had the halfway there, and then the guys like this, and I'll just like. So I
think the one that becomes awkward, and it's like the typical bro thing. The one that I think is kind of strange is like typically in my circle, we all typically hug each other and stuff, and especially people we know. I'm not talking about strangers that we just walk up to, and I'm not talking about people in a close circle. I'm talking about the broader
friends, your circle.
Yeah, we're like, good to see you, or whatever. Yeah. And you see some of that has changed. Like they don't they don't react the same. But that what, it's okay. It's whatever people want to do. You have to respect that and not hold it against them.
Yeah, I mean, like last Saturday, we had a big pizza party at my cousin's house for our hiking group. So there's like 12, 15 of us. No, actually, it was more. It's like 16 people there, and it's just like we're all know each other for so long, and it's
Yeah.
just like, do I go in for a hug? Do I not go in for a hug? Do I go in for a handshake? Do I not go in for a handshake? But it was just like everything went kind of back to normalcy, everybody, hey, what's going
Yeah.
on?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think
Yeah.
people that were previously a little concerned are not as concerned anymore, and they've embraced it again. And yeah. You know what though? That would be really funny though, Curtis. I should remember that. So next time I'm out, and then I go to handshake them, and then they go with the fist bump. I'll put out paper, and I win.
Yeah.
I win.
Just don't slap them, Tim. Just don't slap them.
Yeah, yeah. It's all good, man.
Well, you know what? I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today. It's just from what I've noticed, and it's this isn't new in this industry, but I've noticed some people have just kind of given up. And it's and like I wrote in my tweet, I know it's frustrating, but it's part of being an adult is fighting for what you think is right. And I know it gets to the point where you just you're like, how do you beat the government? How do you beat the FDA? How do you beat your Congress or your city councilman? And it gets frustrating. It's just one. We get a half step forward, and unfortunately we end up stepping 5 steps back. And I just kind of want everyone out there to throw out some ideas of what do you do to, let's just say, pump yourself back up. How do you get yourself back into feeling good about what you're doing and continue on the fight? What do you guys do out there? We'll see what I'm going to ask Tim. Tim's going to let me know what he does, and it doesn't even have to be just about this issue of vaping alone. What do you do to get yourself motivated to continue on the fight?
Personally, I mean, if I wanted to address the situation of vaping, yeah, and I'll be honest. I mean, do I quit? No. I mean, I think for me, the sanity there is doing the show every week because I'm able to put my voice out there and talk to people and try to help as much as I can. Yeah. And sometimes for me, that's enough, especially recently here. But with that said, Twitter. That what, and granted, that may not, that's not the end all be all to work, kind of going after the government's power that is in front of us, but to be reinvigorated about the fight and stay in it is just go on Twitter and read some of the bullshit these ant groups post. Yeah. PAVE and Truth Initiative, and I had a rather crazy exchange. Now, I'll be honest. I mean, I get mostly people on my Twitter feed that are people here on the show. I mean, real quick, let's do this before we forget. So I want to just say hey to everybody.
Yeah, say hello to everybody.
Curtis, Shannon, new viewer, apparently a friend of Paul's. I could kind of gather by the commentary early on the show when I first jumped on that she knows Paul. Welcome to the show, Shannon. Stu, good to see you, man. Hey, don't worry, brother. I'll fist bump you if that's all you want. We got Mowgli. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you back. Rog, always in the house. I didn't see Morgan tonight. Morgan must be chasing tarantulas around or kicking Tom back down the stairs. Luke, what's up, brother? How you been, man? Good to see you again. I know Mallory's in there. Always wonderful to see Mallory. Thanks for being here tonight. And I think I got everybody to date, plus the other 12 odd people that are out there watching the show. Right. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and chime in. Feel free to join the group and be part of the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Anyhow, back to the comments. So I normally just have people in my feed that are people that I'm familiar with already. Now, does that mean that I'm only talking to the bubble? No, because a lot of times my comments are open. Or my tweets are open. They're meant to be seen by anybody who wants to see them. Yeah. I made a post the other day, and the only reason I'm telling this story is just because it's things like this that reinvigorate me to continue fighting for it. So with that said, I made a comment. I tried to make a parallel. It might have not been the best one, but I think it was relevant in the sense that I saw a graphic come up about the extreme percentage of people who become higher at risk for health complications related to the amount of soda that they drink. And they even talked about diet soda,
Yeah.
and and then there was this spike with patients who drank a certain amounts of soda at a certain age bracket that increased their percentage to have health complications down the road. But it was more about the sugar and all the other stuff that is part of soda, right? And even though diet sodas still have caffeine in them. There's caffeine-free this and there's caffeine-free that.
Yeah.
But most people drink sodas and they don't really avoid the caffeinated stuff. But then they mentioned. So I said, well, let me go out. What else has caffeine, right?
Yeah.
Fuck energy drinks, right? But coffee. So I tried to find a relative marker. I'm like, how much more of a percentage healthier or is less invasive than, say, sodas? If you're a soda drinker versus a coffee drinker, they both have caffeine in them. I could not find anything that specifically addressed a percentage that stated that coffee was 95% safer than drinking soda. But in a lot of studies, it clearly outlines and details that in the end, coffee is better for you than soda in many cases, unless you overdo it, right? Drink 10, 12 cups of coffee a day and you're just over-caffeinating. Yeah. So I made the relevant...
you put 5 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Correct. But then you could even go into the argument of aspartame and stuff like that, because I mean that like Splenda's not aspartame, but you had Sweet and Low and things like that. So I mean it's all relevant because I say those things are just as dangerous.
Yeah.
So my relevant point is that in that sense of the context of the graphic, I'm like, coffee technically is soda harm reduction, right? And I said, so in relative terms, vaping is tobacco harm reduction because I made an additional sentence that I said, there's caffeine was constant between those two drinks, but there are also caffeine-free coffees as well, right?
Yep,
There's decaffeinated.
Decaffeinated coffee.
So I tried to make the point. And then this woman, Barbara somebody, she jumped. And this is the first time I think I've ever had anybody like outside the scope of the vaping community chime in on one of my things. And she it didn't even register with her that I was talking about vaping. She thought I was just specifically addressing soda and coffee. And she was like, oh, I only drink a soda every now and again. And I have like 1 cup of coffee every day. And it was like kind of like blah, blah conversation. But then she kept coming back on that subject. And I said, but I'm talking about smoking versus vaping. That's what I'm trying to talk about. And we went back and forth a little bit. And then we really kind of had a good conversation. Some other people who are on Twitter and that I follow me, they jumped in a little bit, and she stuck with it. I mean, we were trying. She's like, well, then I have a question. Why is it that this, and why is that, and why is this, and why is that? And in the end, she finally just felt like her intelligence was being quite. Because I'm like, look,
that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I'm like, look, if you really want real talking points or information, because she kept going on about the kids and the kids and the kids and why do you do this and trading an addiction for an addiction, like the same kind of stuff. And I said, well, you're just making the same talking points that just about everybody else does that doesn't really agree with vaping. I'm like, why don't you go read the information from the Royal College of Physicians or the Cochrane Library? And she's like, I don't have time to read. My life's too busy.
Exactly.
I said, fine. Then if reading is too much of a task, I'm like, and you like documentaries, I'm like, why don't you go watch A Billion Lives and You Don't Know Nicotine? I said, because you have the same talking points and you need to kind of understand why I'm in defense of it. You need to understand. I said, knowledge is power. And then that's when she kind of jumped off the bandwagon. She's like, you're questioning my intelligence. And so, but... And then it spiraled more out of control the rest of the day. Then I had some other lady, some optometrist. I'm sure probably somebody in here, Rog, I think you were in on that conversation. You saw that lady. She was retweeting fucking everybody. She was retweet. She thought that she accused me of having an irresponsible attitude because I made a comment to the fact that me choosing to vape isn't as harmful to others as secondhand smoke.
Right. Yeah.
And she took that and said I had an irresponsible attitude. She goes, vaping does harm people from a secondhand perspective. Well, I didn't want to get into the proof of one argument or the other, but I'm like, no, it's true. Secondhand smoke kills people.
Yep.
But I also don't mistreat my environment and smoke and vape in front of people, kids, and I don't blow vape in my dog's face. And, and if and I don't go to a public area where people don't want that around. I don't mistreat or abuse, and I'm unaware of potentials.
Right.
Okay. But at any rate, so she was retweeting everything I said and then kept going on. And then she threw a link at me. And then again, this is to the point. She threw a link about an article that she published about the dangers of vaping and all this other stuff. And it wasn't even her study. It was just her article about studies other people had done. And then I look at her qualifications. And she's an optometrist, for one. She's an optometrist. What medical background do you have to really throw you into the ring of what it does to someone's lungs or what it does to their biological makeup, unless it actually has something to do with ruining your eyeballs?
Eyeballs. That's what I'm saying.
Then yeah, and then look at Curtis. Curtis is picking up chicks from off my Twitter. Good for you, bro. Good for you. But at any rate, it finally kind of ended because she was trying to say that there was a relevancy between THC vaping and nicotine vaping. And I'm like, you cannot make that comparison at all because A, you're talking about E-Valley or Evali, whatever you want to call it. And B, I'm like, people died because of that. No one's died from nicotine vaping. There's absolutely no comparison, even if you want to say there's risks in vaping. But those kinds of things reinvigorate me to want to continue to keep going because it's all valid. It revalidates why I do what I do, and that is that there's a lot. If I let people like that just kind of have their way and say whatever they want, then they just keep spreading misinformation. My profile doesn't get chicks.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I wasn't gonna say I wish, but I'm just saying there.
I wish.
If anything, I probably get a couple of those rando other area messages that from guys that probably think I'm a chick. I get "Hey beautiful," and it's a picture of a dude, and I'm like, well, first of all, you're not real.
Or you get one of those mysterious links. You get one of those mysterious links.
Just click on anything. Anything that gets in your inbox, just click on it.
Send you to a special page. I mean, it gets frustrating. And like I tell a lot of people, one of the things I do is I just kind of step away from it for a day. You just, sometimes you just need to take that day break, get away from it and focus on something else, but come back to it. Don't just, get to the point where you get so frustrated with losing and losing this battle. And we does. I mean, here lately, we've had very, very few wins. There's been a couple big wins. Colorado, we've had a big win over there in Colorado. So there are some good wins out there to kind of boost your ego and keep you going. But it is frustrating because we seem to lose the big ones. The big ones are the ones, that we seem to always lose. And it's the federal ones and concerning the FDA and other things. But, I feel good that a majority of the country and the cities that are in our country are saying no, and these bills aren't passing. So that's a good sign for us. I mean, that's a sign there are people out there that are listening. We got states like Florida with Nick and his group out there fighting and always continuing the fight and winning. He posted his numbers and it just blew me away that they have not. I don't want to jinx them, so knock on wood, Tim. I don't want to jinx them, but they got like a 39 or 40-0 record out there in Florida. They have not lost a single amendment or a bill or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I mean, they should be. They honestly. I mean, and I know they don't have the time for it, and I don't expect them to do it. I mean, and maybe they could, but they're the perfect example of the type of group that would be excellent for going to other advocacy groups within other states and saying,
I think they've offered. I think,
and I don't understand why people don't take them up on it. It's like we're fractured and we're all fighting from different angles, or individuals fighting from our homes and getting on Zoom calls and trying. And it's like, I get that as a group we're stronger, but there needs to be a focus group that knows exactly what to do and how to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I know one of the problems that this industry has is they're all fighting for different reasons, and I get that. I mean, you have the manufacturers fighting for certain things, you have the shops fighting for certain things, you have the distribution centers fighting for certain things, and I get it. Not everybody wants to give in a little bit here or there for each other, but again, it all comes down to one thing: do you really want to save vaping? Are you doing this for the right reasons? I mean,
Mhm.
I know no matter what happens as far as federal, yeah, it's going to affect all of them. It's going to affect the manufacturers, it's going to affect the distributors, it's going to affect the shops, it's going to affect the websites as well. It's all going to affect us. I mean, and I get it. Oh, we don't want to give this up because it's going to hurt us and it's only going to benefit the shops. But it's a full circle. It
Right.
helps everything keeping a product on the shelves. And this battle with fighting over distribution and nicotine and all this other stuff, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because the bottom line is, do you want to save this industry? Do you want to save vaping? Do you want to save future smokers down the road? Do you want to keep this product on the shelves? What do we have to do? And obviously, and I don't know what the focus is on Florida. I think
Mhm.
the focus with Nick and that group is the shops. I mean, that's the main goal, is keeping product on their shelves at the shops. So I think that's their
Yeah.
main focus. It's not so much. I don't. Do you ever remember Nick speaking of flavor bans or anything? I think it's always something to do with uh,
Well, DeSantis.
location
Well,
stuff.
DeSantis pretty much
Yeah,
helped save that element of it. But I think it's this. I think here's the point, right? I mean, if you had to give it some kind of a relative thing, I think Nick and his team are in a perfect position to go about it this way. And maybe Nick will jump in at some point during the show if he's not busy. But
yeah,
you know how it is when your team kind of goes up by a little bit of a decent score. You got a nice gap. Like 10 points in a football game, or 3 goals in a hockey game, or 20 points in a basketball game. And what's the most typical thing that happens in those cases? You see the football team drop back in a prevent defense. You see the hockey team just kind of play keep away. You see
yeah,
the basketball team just kind of play like a certain zone
yeah,
strategy to just kind of keep them from driving to the net and scoring points. Keep them outside, make them take the long shot. And I think that's and I'm not saying that that's a bad strategy. It's probably won tons of games.
yeah.
But I think when you're up, you keep pushing. So when
Yep,
you're winning, keep trying to win by more. And I think that that's Nick's approach and his team's approach. It was like,
yep,
hey, we've got some momentum. We've got people on our side. Let's keep steamrolling and
yeah.
don't punt, because it's when you punt that you give the other team a chance to score.
That's right.
And I truthfully believe that. Unfortunately, some of us are already in some states already too far behind the 8 ball. It's
Yeah,
like shit comes in the middle of the night, and then you wake up the next morning and there's a flavor ban. And what are you going to do? Then you got to fight it in the court of law, and then it gets ugly and people are mad, and then the conversations don't happen, and
yeah,
all that other stuff. But I don't know. I'm just saying, I think Nick was like, they were like, hey, here's our chance now. Now that we're winning a little bit, let's continue to keep running up the scoreboard,
yep,
because that's how we keep them defeated.
yep.
And maybe not all of us are able to start with that position.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they have offered their help and support to other organizations, and it just, hey, no, we got it our way. This is how we're going to do it. And I get it. I get every state is different. Every location is different. Every city, every county, everything is always different. But that system is working. At least take the time to look and see how they're doing it, how they're going about it, how Nick is always talking about creating that friendship with these representatives, letting them know that you're theirs. And I know, I get it. Sometimes certain representatives, certain congressmen, certain senators or city councilmen, they don't want to be bothered with vaping. There's a war going on, or where they're fighting over property taxes, they're fighting over water, and all this other nonsense. But you know schedule that appointment, sit down, talk to these guys, let them know you're out there, go through that process, explain to them what vaping is, explain the difference between vaping, e-liquid, and THC, explain all that stuff, and let these guys at least have an idea that when they see you coming in and you're sitting down in these city council meetings, or you're at some protests, at least they can see and go, hey, yeah, I remember I talked to you. I remember what you were talking about. I understand how it works. And maybe he goes in there a little different, and with the attitude is like, if some other congressman says, oh, or state senator or whatever you want, city council says, oh, well, this is way, at least that guy goes, hey, wait a minute. I sat down with, Joe, and he explained to me these are two different things. This is THC, this is, e-liquid. This is the difference between these two things. This is an open system. This is a closed system. And at least that guy understands it. Because I think, I like to think that the last couple of years, some of these guys have gotten better educated, but got to keep in mind, there's these spots, there's a lot of turnover. There's turnover in these seats. Whether it's your city councilman, or whether not so much with state senators and congressmen, they're there. What is it? Term limits? What is it? 4 years or whatever? 4 years, 6. I don't know what it is anymore.
I don't think it's 6 anymore.
But yeah, it's 2 to 4, I think. But I mean, with your city councilman, there's a chance that there's a lot of turnover. But look at Nick, man. They didn't mess around. Nick was talking about, the new session was coming. They had some new faces in there. They went out of their way to make sure they were there. They were there.
But that's what I mean. It's like they were winning a little bit, and then they decided to continue to try to win by approaching the people that were new, even the new kids, because they don't want the new kids on the block to have a chance to try to form an opinion before they really know the truth. I wanted to address Shannon's point, because I think this is important to understand too, and it goes back to what you brought up, John, about why people feel like they just give up, because they feel alone. Just like Shan, she goes, I watch the local government, state, but I have to do things on my own because I have no one to stand behind. And I think that we're a vast majority of us, outside of maybe us having a few friends, who vape, or we know a couple people that vape. Like I have a guy at work who vapes. Yeah. And I've advocated with him, and I've tried to tell him what's going on and things that are getting ready to impact us and all that stuff. But I just don't see him really sort of being like, hey, man, you know what? This really concerns me. I want to get involved. I'm trying that angle. So I think a lot of us feel alone. And how do you fight from a sole position? Like you almost have to, like, rather than wait to try for people to come and latch on to you, maybe the other thing is to go looking for the groups that are doing that stuff and try to say, hey, how do I get involved with you guys? Because I want to join that team. And I want to get, because like my parents understand it. My parents certainly believe that I have enough intelligence to make the decision on this one. So I've told them everything I can tell them, and I don't get any flack about it now. Like I don't get the call now where it's like, are you still vaping? I don't get that call, like with the smoking thing.
Yeah, I get that too, Shannon, and I understand that. That's one of the other problems with a lot of these groups is, everybody has all these different ideas on what should be going on within these groups and how to fight these battles and where they need to be, where they need to protest, what city council meetings they need to be at, and all this stuff. But that's where someone needs to get in there and organize it and get it together and have them become a team. And I think that's what you have over with Nick in Florida. You have a group of individuals that they know, hey, Friday, 9:00, we need to be at the county office. Boom, and they're there. They're all there. Instead of 2 or 3 of them showing up, they show up. They show up and they fight. And that's one of the problems. And Tim, brought up a good thing, and you start thinking about your circle and people that are around you that do vape. And do you find yourself sometimes wondering if that number is really true on the amount of vapors in the United States when you barely know 1 or 2 people in your circle?
Well, I think the United States is a massive place, and I think it's
a massive place. But you got to think for yourself. I live in a city that has 350,000 people. Honest to God, I may run into maybe 2 or 3 people I see vaping. And I don't know if they're just a bunch of closet vapors out there. And in my inner circle,
I don't think so at all.
Just my kids.
I think the population is far too spread out for us to really get a gauge on it unless we're tapped into a community of people. Yeah. Typically those who hang around vape shops or people that are of this similar ilk that kind of gravitate towards each other. Now, have I really ever been centered around a physical group of people that were
Yeah.
really adamant about vaping and fighting? No. I've
Yeah.
had a friend here or a friend there or a
But
guy in the neighborhood.
you like I brought it up. You're with the band sometimes, and you're at these clubs, and do you look around and notice it, or are you just too busy? I mean, do you notice it? Do you go, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cool,
Absolutely
that's
put my head on a swivel.
yeah,
And but it's strange. Like I'll go to 37 right here around the corner, 5 minutes away. And
yeah,
it inherently, we all have to go outside, whether it's
right.
vaping or smoking. And I'll go out front, and there's at least 10 to 12 people standing out there, and I'm the only vapor.
Yeah,
I'm
that
the only.
doesn't that jar that though? Doesn't it make you wonder? Like, I mean, I ran into it all the time, and I always question that number, and that number just seems to get higher and higher. And I'm thinking, okay, as that number is growing, I should see that. I should see some reflection of that in my environment around me, and I don't. I may, like I said, I may run into maybe two people,
Mm,
and usually it's like I'm getting out of the car at the supermarket,
mhm.
walking into the store and seeing that one guy, quickly pull it out and take that quick hit before getting into the store,
Right.
like I do. And I'm just like, oh, cool, your vape, and then, yeah, I'll draw a little conversation,
Yeah.
but, just, a couple seconds before we walk into the store. But to me, it just when Dr. Mendelsohn posted that number, I was just kind of like, it just makes me think.
But
It's
it
like,
was
okay,
his number worldwide or
it's
United States?
worldwide. It's worldwide. It's a worldwide number, but you got to assume that we're number one when it comes to, that product being sold in this country. It's a lot higher than anywhere else. So if that number goes higher, I'm going to assume that it's US based mostly than anywhere else. So
Mm.
I'm assuming that eventually, which I hope to God does happen someday, that I I myself step out of a bar to go vape and not see, like Tim says, 10, 15 people smoking a cigarette, me standing there. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to go out there and see 10, 15 people vaping and one guy still smoking. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
hard for
I
me to.
feel like it could have gone the other direction. I felt like at one point it seemed like I saw more and more people commonly vape, and then it seemed like all of a sudden then it just kind of stopped and people were smoking. And
Yeah,
I want to say and these are just with interactions that I've had, um, is that I think some of the social blather that's gone on around vaping, that propaganda that's out there and the negativity that's been
you
painted
think
on it.
it's
I
become
think
a
people
closet smoker,
I think
closet vapor?
people no, I don't no, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is I think there may have been, but I think they got scared into going back to smoking.
Yeah,
I think that they turned away from it because let's be real here, the people that did that are probably people that don't know much about vaping,
right.
didn't know that it was under threat from being taken away. And I think news reports and Facebook crap and all that stuff, cleverly placed with the gotcha headlines and the
Yeah,
danger, Will Robinson shit,
yeah,
I think caused people to be either people
yeah,
that were right there to go back really quick, or
yeah,
people, because I still see people on Facebook going, I want to quit smoking, I want to quit
yeah.
smoking. And then the moment you chime in
Yeah,
that, hey, I picked up vaping nine
yeah,
years ago and it got me away from it. I can
yeah,
help you and give you suggestions for the right kind of thing. And then I get 10 comments right behind me telling me how much more dangerous
yeah,
it
yeah.
is and
Oh,
this, that,
yeah,
and the other thing. And it's impregnated them too. And that, so now the
yeah,
people that have no skin in the fight over vaping or smoking will deter someone who wants to quit smoking from even turning to vaping.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that it's the forces that work
Right.
against us.
I'm going to ask you guys out there in chat, and guys, just put the number in there. I'm just kind of curious on this number. I mean, how many people do you have within, let's just keep it within your inner circle. How many people in your inner circle, or you see daily or weekly, that are vaping? I'm just kind of curious because
Well, Curtis had a monster number. He said it was about 40 people in his family and friends and stuff
that's
like that.
awesome. That's awesome. If
But
that,
see,
if
my parents aren't
right,
smokers,
you're
so I
not,
don't
you're
have to
like mine.
convert them. My
Yeah,
brother is not a smoker, so I
right,
don't have to convert him.
right,
I'm not near any other close family
you're right.
here in Atlanta.
Yeah,
So all I can reach out to are people that I see. I
yeah,
can see with my own two eyes.
right.
Now, I got one guy at work that's a trick, and he was a vapor, but now
Yeah,
he's smoking again.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm not going to chastise him for being a smoker, but
right.
it's strange to me because, like, and he isn't one that was like, oh, I had like an old friggin', ego twist and a cardo with silica wick. This is a
Yeah,
guy who was vaping on mechs
yeah,
and heavy ended stuff, knows how to install a coil, all
yeah.
that stuff, and he drifted back to smoking. So, that right there is a little strange to me. It's like, bro, you were on your freaking way. I mean, what, did making a coil just become a little too much of a hassle? You could just
Oh
go
yeah.
sub-ohm tank all day long. Now,
Maybe he lost a 3 millimeter screwdriver, Tim.
no,
He
I
just
don't
can't
think so.
wrap a coil anymore.
Well, he and Archie. Well, Garrett is the one guy, and Archie's the other guy. He and Garrett run off to the vape shop all the time because Archie needs to get this or get that or
Yeah,
pick up some new juice, and they tried to get Garrett back into it, and he put it right back away.
yeah,
And I'm not saying that he's an example of a failing number of people who are able to quit using vaping. I'm just saying something keeps drawing him back to cigarettes, whatever
yeah,
it might be,
yeah.
his own stress, his anxiety, it's not
Right.
enough or whatever. I don't know.
He
But it's
could just not
hard.
be ready. I mean, that's it still applies whether you're vaping or you're trying a patch or you're trying the gums. You still want to quit. I mean, it still has to be part of the reason.
I
You
don't
just
think he wants to smoke.
yeah,
It's just for
exact.
whatever
Yeah.
reason,
Mm.
vaping isn't doing enough for him in
Yeah.
whatever format. But it's a hard one because I'm like, he knows
Yeah.
all about vaping.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
am I going to tell him? I
Yeah.
can't like give him some speech. He's already
No,
heard all
no,
that
no,
shit.
no.
He
Yeah,
knows
he's
all that
heard it all.
shit.
He's heard it
Yeah.
all. He's heard it all. You can maybe. I mean, the only thing that you really could suggest is what level he was at nicotine, and maybe bump it up to try to curb that
Well, I
that
thought it would
edge.
be a case of influence. If he saw Archie and I both vaping, he would be encouraged to want to
Yeah.
go back to it. Like, hey, it's working for you guys. I got two guys around me that vape. I'm gonna go back
Yeah.
because I see it working for you guys now. I kind of get he kind of gets that itch to get back into it, and it just doesn't stick. It's like
Yeah.
he runs out to his truck and for lunch and breaks and sitting there smoking them cigarettes, and I'm like, what? Hey, it's not my life. You know what I mean? What am I?
Yeah, yeah, you can only make a couple suggestions. That's it. That's why I was just thinking, maybe trying to up the nicotine level a little bit to maybe try to curve some of that desire to have that cigarette. I don't know, it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah, well, Rog, that's what I was saying. As I said, I feel
Yeah.
like at one point like the visible number around me was like more people were trying it, more people were doing it. It was becoming more common, and the number around me seemed to be rising from a general perspective. These are people that I don't know, just
Yeah.
in social situations, seeing people vaping, and then at some point. Maybe around. I don't want to say it was around the time the Valley thing happened and all that stuff. It could be. I just
Yeah.
don't specifically remember. But now when I go to the clubs and the bars, and I would expect to see more people out front vaping, that's what I was saying. Is I feel like they got freaked out.
Yeah.
Either they read too much stuff on Facebook, or the Ivali reports were freaking them out, not realizing that it was THC. I had one guy who I know come up to me while I was vaping out front of a show one night, and he didn't even say hi. I know the guy, and he didn't
Yeah.
even say hi. He just he was trying to be a smart ass, but he
Yeah.
walked up to me and he's like, that shit'll fucking rot your teeth out.
Oh
And I'm
god.
like, nah. And he's like, yeah, you read it. You can go read all it, rot your teeth out. And I'm like, so I didn't want to start up, but I'm like, so, but you're gonna sit there and tell me that the fact that you're blackening your lungs
Yeah.
and heading down the path of emphysema and potentially, other issues
Yeah.
like COPD that
And affecting everyone
a
around you.
maybe is what you're worried about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever,
Yeah. That's when I would look at him and say, "Look, your cancer stick smoke is violating my space. Please step 6 feet back."
Yeah. Well,
As I blow a big cloud in his face, big juicy strawberry custard cloud in his face.
I wouldn't be rude like that.
No, I wouldn't do that either. I wouldn't do that either.
Well, no. What I did was I still think about making them to this day because but I don't want to come off as rude. I designed a business card, okay, and the one side of the business card was pink, and it said my lungs and vaping on the bottom right corner, and then you flip it over, and the back side of the card was jet black, and it said your lungs. Any questions?
Any questions?
And I thought, that maybe that's a way to start a conversation.
Yeah, it's a good way. Yeah.
I mean, you see a bright color,
Yeah, you might
that's
get
like
Will Smith slapped though too.
no, no,
You
nobody
still
needs
have
to be
those
slapping anybody.
I have a couple that I've said to myself, oh man, I fucked up, approaching this guy because he just went off on me, and it's like, yeah, it's my life. I fucking want to smoke. I've been smoking. My grandfather's 98. He still smokes 3 packs of cigarettes and he doesn't have any issues. And good for your grandfather, man. Good for him, man, that he's 98 and still smoking 3 packs a day and doesn't have cancer. Some people got lucky, but
real quick, I'll give him time to comment back. Garrett, tell us what your flavor profile preferences are.
Yeah, because there's a difference there, guys. I mean, there's some companies that nail desserts, and there's some companies that just nail fruits. And especially when I've noticed, as far as Nick salts, I mean, that's the issue I've had with Nick salts because there's a couple companies where their freebase line tastes completely different than their salt. So let us know what you're into, because there's some companies that just make great flavors, fruit flavors and fruity stuff, and there's some companies just that nail the desserts, and that kind of makes a difference. So let us know. But
it helps us to know like what you're going for, rather than just throwing out a bunch of recommendations, and it might be stuff you're not into.
Yeah, because I'll just recommend a cereal. No, I'm kidding.
We're just going to recommend a cinnamon bun, a cinnamon bun flavor.
Yeah, no. If you're into fruits, I mean, it's a difference. There's a little bit of I mean, there's been a couple now that I've been kind of going back and forth with devices, sometimes salts and sometimes back to the freebase stuff. And I've had the flavors from that other company that, I got the salts from. And I'm like, okay, there's a huge difference here. There's a dramatic difference. I mean, in flavor and taste and what I'm getting.
Well, that's a hard one, especially with fruity flavors, because a lot of times you get a lot of sweeteners in those things, and it tends to caramelize on the coils really fast. So I'm certainly not going to recommend Monster Labs or Jam Monster stuff. I'm trying to think. Coastal Clouds always seem to have really good stuff. Hey Garrett, do you like lemonades, like strawberry lemonade or things of that nature? I would also recommend some of the Twist line. The Twist line has some really good fruit flavors that are not like really gummy and dark and rich, apples and things like that. Like if you like strawberry lemonade, try Pink Punch Zero.
Yeah,
Pink Punch Zero is banging, dude. If you like a strawberry lemonade with a little bit of a menthol, the icy, that cold kind of kick on the back end of it.
That's me and Tim, man. That's
not a true menthol. I'm talking about just the culotta kind of thing. Check out Twist and try Pink Punch Zero or Pink Number One. Pink Number One doesn't have the ice on it, but it's more normal. Another good line, if you can find it in a salt, is a lot of the stuff by Humble. Humble has some really good fruit flavor stuff that's not too hard on your coils and stuff. But it's getting harder, bro. I mean, so many companies are not able to keep stuff on the shelves, really.
And it might be your time. So if you're looking, you better jump on it. Yeah, just a heads up too. We will be having Vapecraft Inc. will be joining us here in a couple. I think sometime in April. So I'm going to try to get some more e-liquid companies to come on the show. And there you go, Tim. Thanks. So they will be joining us and with some other companies too. So there will be, I'll have an announcement probably next week on a couple e-liquid companies that are going to be joining us on the show. And they're not going to be promoting. They're just going to talk about, I don't let anybody, we're not going to let me just get this out. We're not going to let anybody come on the show to promote shit. That's not what this show's about. So what they will be doing is coming on and talking about their battle, what they've been going through with all the regulations and stuff like that, and how they're staying in business and things like that. So keep that in mind anytime you see an e-liquid company come on here, or hardware, because we're going to have hardware companies come on too as well. So we will be having a little bit of that. But like I said, I'm not going to let anybody come on the show to promote a product. That's not what this show's about. So
and Garrett, before we go to real quick, I just want to lose a comment because he may not stay. Caliburn Cocoa is basically the just the Caliburn, but in the smaller form factor. So I think it's basically the same thing, just in a square. The coils from Caliburn have always had a really good reputation. If the cocoa isn't holding down for you, you might want to look into the A2 or the G2. I think it's A2 and G2 that came out. It's like the cocoa, but it's just their newer version of it, and they have two different releases on that. One is like you have the pods, and then you replace the coil, like I believe in the cocoa. No, the cocoa. I had the cocoa. Well, they had two cocos. They had the cocoa one before that, and then they had the one with the fancy colors and shit on it, the Cocoa 2 or whatever they called it. And but I preferred it when you just burned the pod. I don't know what happened when they went to the removable coils. It's like something happened and the coils weren't as good. Anyway, that's my answer on that one.
Welcome, our Ozzie. What's up, Mr.
Ozzie in the house. How are things in Australia?
The snake, the python, the kangaroo, the scorpion. What other deadly things are out there? What's the name of the brown spider? Brown spider?
The huntsman. The huntsman spider.
That's the one.
That's
the one that'll fucking kill you on the spot, dude.
No, not the huntsman. The trapdoor or the funnel web or the what's the other one?
Which let me get to because I want to know. I know it's not rape related, but which one could kill you even if you were 5 steps from the hospital door?
Funnel web.
Okay, that's the one I'm going to stay the fuck away from. Right. That's important to know, Tim. If we go there, if you're even 5 feet from the hospital door, you're done. I want to make sure I know.
I don't know if funnel webs are prevalent in Sydney downtown, but you're probably not going to find one there, unless somebody got the nickname because they fucking drink you under the table or something.
Daddy Longlegs. I heard that. Yeah, I heard the story about Daddy Longlegs.
Yeah, how poisonous they were, and then you find out their mouths are like
this big.
A pinhole.
Yeah, you can't. They can't
bite you.
They
can't bite you. Anyway,
so Paul, since you're here, what do you do to keep yourself going? What do you do to pump yourself up, even though you're going through all this stuff in Australia there with all these laws? What do you do to keep yourself going and not get to the point where you just say, I'm done, I'm walking away?
You really want to know?
Yeah, because that's what today's show's about. What do you do to keep yourself motivated? Because that's what seems to be going on, what I'm seeing in our industry right now. People stepping away. Yeah. And they're just so frustrated.
The deck gets stacked and you just feel like throwing in the towel and just surviving on your own with vaping. What motivates you to continue to fight?
Because you got a big battle. I mean, you don't have a voice.
No.
So it's got to be even harder to stay motivated.
I have a guilty little pleasure that I watch Japanese woodworking videos.
So you go do that, and then you're like, all right, I'm good to go. I'm good for another week.
Yeah, but you've got to understand Japanese woodworking.
Yeah,
it's all hand tools.
Yeah.
It's not power tools at all. It's
so you're just clearing your mind.
Using these, what you have.
Yeah.
And then watching them with chisels and these little tiny cut-off saws and things like that, doing master class woodwork. Yeah, that's and they're not in English either.
Yeah. So is it that type of art or crafting reinforces persistence and stick-to-itness or discipline?
Discipline.
Yeah. It's
so like, everybody out there, take up.
I don't think anyone has ever given an answer like that before. When I was still working in the racing industry, it was walking out to a paddock and trying to catch a little 2-year-old that hadn't been touched much, but now it's just Japanese woodworking. It's a skill set in itself. I don't know how to explain it.
No, it makes sense. It's just you're taking all that energy and your mind away from focusing on vaping and the industry.
I don't see it as a distraction. The question was, what continues to help you motivate you to stay in the fight? Not watching something that's zen. That's like, okay, it's let me recenter. That's why I asked him. I'm like, the fact that these guys are building something with these tiny little tools, where like we live in a world of instant gratification. We want a machine and a router and a thing to cut it, a laser to do this in 2 seconds. But these guys make something with their hands using manual stuff, and they have to. And can you imagine trying to do that, John? You'd be like 5 minutes into the fucking project, you'd be like, fuck this. Let me go find the fucking laser thing and go the other direction. And so with the woodworking, with what he's watching, that's why I asked. I said, is it that it reminds you to continue to have your discipline and your persistence on something, and don't quit? Because if you do, you'll never make that thing that they make.
Yeah, 100%. And the other one that I used to watch, but they've taken a lot of the videos down now, was glass blowing. That's another art that.
Why are they going after that industry now? Is it because of what? Yeah, I noticed that somebody else was talking about YouTube pulling those videos down too. I'm like, are they making bongs? I mean, you can make a bong on. I mean, nobody's glass.
I can't see how glass blowing would be offensive.
Maybe they just don't want people doing it at home. Hey, I can blow glass.
Okay, well, I never really thought about that. But no, glass blowing's being made. Well,
YouTube's getting fucking crazy. It's weird. YouTube's kind of getting weird, man. I mean, I know this is off track, but I mean, there's still people posting kids fighting in school, and those videos are still up. You know,
but well, I mean, as much as nobody really cares to watch, but people. I think YouTube just got into this situation where they cared more about what was pulling people into viewership situation. There was way too many people that were just getting on there and creating channels that had a bunch of nonsensical, stupid shit. And they were just saying that basically if you're a creator on YouTube, they really only want to keep the people around that pull viewers, that actually, that actually gain some attention and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe we're not. I'm not saying we're one of them.
We need to get more controversial.
No,
Paul, call Tim a bad word.
No, I don't need. We don't need to be controversial.
No,
I don't want to be. I don't want to be I don't want to have to draw lines and fight.
Tim, we need like that big '80s rock band fight where the lead singer just says "fuck you, I'm out of here." We need that attitude. Tim, you be You be David Lee Roth, and we'll be Van Halen, and you tell us to go fuck off. And
Nobody
Paul,
wants to watch that shit.
Paul could be what's his name that comes in and starts singing. It's sad though, but we live in a society that's what it takes is controversy to draw attention and views to certain things. And when someone has a legitimate, you know, thing they need to get out there or a message, and that message gets lost in the chaos, and it's sad.
Well, you know what? I think what attracts people now, I mean, and I would even equate our fight to being one of those things, but I think it's community based.
Yeah.
But people tend to flock towards hot button social justice commentary. I mean, that seems to be the thing that people love to talk about, is finding a side, picking a side, and then fighting back and forth over some social position.
Right.
And I just don't think that vaping for a lot of people is that.
Yeah.
You know, so but we still have to get back to the same conversation, even if you want me to be some, you know, asshole singer that quit the band.
That's why I hate, I bring it up all the time, but it's we need to switch it. We need to switch it. We need to take it. We need to make the narrative about the choice and take away the fight for flavors and the fight for this, because it needs to be about a freedom of choice, a choice that you have that it's being taken away from us. And I think that's what the industry needs to start focusing on, because that's where we draw people in. That's where middle America wakes up and looks into this more, because you're taking away something from, whether it's guns. You look at the state of New York, for instance. Was it 10 years ago? The uproar over 44-ounce fucking cups. Think about that. They got more play and more fight over 44-ounce sodas than we could ever put together in the last 10 years in this industry. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know where it starts. Where it starts is you can't have really a conversation about choice unless you're just talking about the premise of choice being forcibly taken away from you. We can have that conversation. But I think where you have to start before you can even have the conversation about how much that choice impacts one person or another is when vaping is once again painted in a light that is not so evil, right? Because right now the stance is that if you ask the average person on the street, they're probably going to, most of them tell you that they think vaping is worse than smoking. That's what they're probably going to tell you. And so you already have that fight you have to win. You have to get people to believe that it's better for you.
Same thing with soda, though. You had basically the same response. I mean, was the push was obesity and trying to curb obesity.
But nobody gave a shit because people like soda. They're like, fuck it, I don't care. If I want my soda, I'll drink my soda. And then you're gonna have a contingent of people who are like, oh, I needed to back off the soda. You know, it was too much sugar. Great, get fucking healthy, bro. But that's what we're doing here too. And it's just that you have a misconstrued view of what you think vaping is, and it's not worse than smoking.
Right.
And you have to win that fight first.
We have to win that fight. I mean, it's still, still being able to use that analogy and explaining to people that that this may be the beginning. Like I've always said, it could be coffee next. Like I said, what's going to stop some senator one morning waking up and looking at his son's ATM bill and saying, Jesus Christ, you spent $350 last month at Starbucks. You know what? We're going to have to curb this, because kids are drinking too much coffee. So we're going to take away the Frappuccinos. We're going to take away the mochas. We're going to take what's to stop them? Basically, they're doing it now, and they're using the kids. They use the narrative for the kids for everything. And I go into coffee houses. I don't know about you two. I don't know if Tim goes into a coffee house or Paul goes into coffee houses there. Kids are in there. Kids are drinking coffee. Kids that are not, I know there's no age limit to drinking coffee, but, I've seen kids in there 12, 13 years old drinking double shots of espresso and being able to walk into an AM PM and purchase a double shot espresso cold brew of Starbucks and not get questioned. Of course but what's to stop some senator? We give up flavors now for vaping. That just opens up another door for them going after, salts, sugars, chocolates, all this other
Yeah, but I
stuff
don't know that they would really want to venture that far unless it was deemed that
no one ever thought they would ban alcohol, Tim, and they still did it.
Well, right, but that was a long time ago, and I'm not, and I don't even want to bring alcohol into the conversation because I think alcohol by and large is probably far more dangerous for you on a larger scale if you were to become someone who drinks every day.
Yep.
What it physically can do to your body over time. But I think the general public's view of things like soda and coffee and energy drinks, while people recognize the fact that abuse of those particular things aren't good for you, they still look at it from like a me perspective. Like, well, I know it's not good for you, but I'm not going to drink it. Right. I don't care what everybody else does. And so they're okay with that. So even if they lost it, they're not going to be that bent out of shape. But I think the real thing, John, is how do you get people to look at it from this perspective, like you said? But it doesn't matter until they come after you.
Yeah.
So do you need to start a crusade to save soda? No, but it's the premise that could trigger one day, and something insignificant will happen. And and all of a sudden they're on a crusade to start taking it away from you. Then what are you going to do? And then you're going to be behind the 8 ball like us, and the government's just going to take more and find and close the loopholes and keep taking more to the point where you aren't going to be able to get your Mountain Dew in the morning on your way to work.
But how? Okay, here's a question for everyone: how do you change their mindset with all the advertising and the money that's coming from other entities?
That's the hardest part, Paul. You hit the nail on the head.
Money.
How do you defeat the propaganda? How do you get somebody to sit? Like I said, I had that back and forth with that lady on my own post who had no freaking clue. She didn't even pick up on the idea that it was a vape advocacy post.
Yeah.
And she was on about coffee and soda, and I'm like, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I was making a relative point. And it started off good. Charles Gardner even jumped in on it and gave her a graphic about, the harms of nicotine and all that. Because I had made a comment to the point where I said, I think we all recognize that anything used to a level of abuse is not good for you. Yep. And then Charles popped in and he said, I'm just not sure we can even have that argument about nicotine being that harmful. And he posted the one that, says how it helps with cognitive retention and all this other stuff. And I said, no, Charles, what I was really commenting on is the idea of like the kids taking like augmenting pod systems and turning them into like vape bongs and shit, and then drinking 10 energy drinks a day while they sit in front of a computer and play video games all fucking day, or they're just a soda freak or something like that. Like yes, it's okay to have 1 or maybe 2 sodas a day, and it's probably not going to harm you in the long run, but you could increase your health risks by taking these things to extreme levels, and that's the point I was trying to make. But that's what I'm saying is that when I finally was able to start having the conversation, I even made one of my response tweets was, I'm really thankful that she's taken the time to have this debate, because it's one that needs to be had. And I just encouraged her to learn more. And then she took it as I was questioning her intelligence. And I'm like, I'm not questioning your, if I came off that way, I never spoke to her in a derogatory way. I never came off like, oh, you loser. It's just people like you that don't listen to what we have to. I basically I had offered reading options. She didn't like that. So then I came back and I just said, but knowledge is power. If you don't like reading, then why not watch a couple of documentaries? And I gave her the link to You Don't Know Nicotine. And I'm like, you could just watch that. Like everybody can sit there and watch a fucking documentary for an hour and 10 minutes or whatever. And then that's when she was like, you know what, I've listened to what you had to say, and I just feel like everything keeps coming back to insulting my intelligence, like I don't, I'm not smart. And I'm like, no, you just have a certain set of talking points, and I'm trying to get you to see this from a different angle. You're on about the kids and the harm that it does to kids. And I said, and I reiterated it 2 times. I said, we don't want kids vaping. Vapors who are trying to save their lives don't want kids vaping. Then she went and she came back with some commentary about, she's like, do you think that your desire to want to do this clouds your ability to have a good judgment about the choice that you've made? She's like, she goes, I used to smoke weed when I was a kid. And, and she's like, and you don't want somebody on weed driving a car. And she's like, so I would smoke weed, but I knew it wasn't safe to drive. And I said, so what are you trying to, why are we onto equating smoking weed and driving to vaping? I'm like, of course, like, no, I don't want anybody getting high as a fucking kite and getting behind the fucking wheel. I'm like, but vaping doesn't do that to a human body. Like, I don't vape and go, holy fuck, I need way more of this shit. Like, I'm not having like a moment like I'm addicted. I'm like, I am very clear on the choice that I've made and the things that I'm putting into my system.
Right.
We can't compare it. And then that's when the optometrist jumped into the game and decided she was going to try to perish on our hill too.
Does Kassar, who is it? Kassar, who does the videos with people going on there and telling their stories? Who is that? Is that Kassar?
I thought that was Mallory.
Mallory does that.
Not
right?
Mallory. Lindsay.
Lindsay Stroud. Yeah, that is.
Is that an actual YouTube channel, or is that a link that takes them directly to their site?
No, from
that'd
memory.
Be a great link to give somebody when you get somebody like that, Tim, where they don't want to do the reading, they don't want to do the research. Well, here you go. Go look at these. Go watch some of these.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like what else, I can't sit on Twitter for a day and a half and just keep throwing shit at you. It's like you're gonna have to be open to the idea that what I'm talking about is not just some flippant vapor who wants to blow vapor in everybody's face. I'm trying to tell you there's information out there to have you see it from the other perspective as well. And that information is there for you to consume. But if you don't want to consume it, I'm not going to do it in back and forth Twitter commentary. Yeah. I don't want kids. Go ahead.
How far do you think media has taken this in the opposite direction now?
Well, I think since the Valley, a little bit. Well, I think since the Valley, I think we got buried pretty significantly.
Yeah, but mainstream. Okay,
it's changed a little bit, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but not independent media. I'm talking mainstream media. In comparison, and how far do you think mainstream media has thrown us under the bus?
Years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's been a couple here lately, I say the last 6 or 7 months, where actually some of the mainstream medias have actually put out some pro-vaping stuff, and a couple big-time magazines have put out some positive stuff, but it's very small.
Why are they doing that now? That's
a good question. That's a good question. I mean, I don't know why.
I can't understand that because
it could be just you got a younger demographic. If you start looking at it, a lot of these executive, or I forget what they call those people, that producers that are on these shows. A lot of these producers and media outlet, what do they call the guy that runs the newspaper? Blah 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 blah.
Murdoch,
the editor
that decides what gets published and what doesn't
editor.
Get, right. Mm. I think you're starting to see a little bit of a younger generation of those people, because I've noticed, like, even some of the, because I'm one of those guys that likes to read, gossip shit and news TV stuff, and you're starting to see a little bit of a younger producers, guys in their late 20s, early 30s that are becoming producers, and I think maybe some of those guys are vaping. And I think maybe, what do you think? Do you think maybe that could be a little bit of it?
Well, I want Paul to finish this thought.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand now why, and you look at Fox and Sky, which is all Murdoch.
Yeah.
Yet there's people breaking rank within the Murdoch organization now. And putting very small pro-vaping type articles out. Why? Are they seeing the other side of the coin now, or do they know someone in their family that might vape, or do they know someone that was on death's door with COPD or emphysema, and then they're coming back to the real world?
Yeah.
What
Well, yeah, that's what I think.
what is that point?
Yeah, that's what I think is going on. I think you're seeing a younger group of people that are starting to have jobs that are able to make those decisions. I think producers of networks and TVs, they're younger people now. A lot of the old timers have moved on that have been against vaping. And I think having that younger generation there, same thing that Nick brought up with Florida, having that younger group of people that were coming in as representatives of cities and states there are younger. They're vapors. They're more likely to have a friend or friends that vape or someone else. So I think that has a little bit to do with it as that transition of older people start to move away.
I disagree a little bit. I don't think it's just a transition of youthful power. I think the last 5 years, going on 6, I think a lot has changed in terms of the public's consumption of information. Okay. Mm-hmm. It used to be really, really, really easy, and we see it's still easy to this day how quickly you can push a narrative if it's big and scary and get a bunch of people to be like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, Chicken Little sky's falling. But I think with all of the stuff that's gone on, non-vape related, I think it's started to open up the door to the idea that people need to be more of critical thinkers, and that you can't just take a side and pick a side and that's the absolution. I think it's caused people to go, you know what? They might be lying to me now. I want to go try to see maybe what if there's some other truth out there that I'm being blindfolded to. And so I absolutely think it's the idea of people finally going, I want to go read both sides of this story. Like, I'm getting the one, but as much as we hear about the media lies to us, it's all it doesn't matter what channel, what news forum you are aligned with, whether it's Fox, whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC. It's like Verizon, fucking T-Mobile, and AT&T. It's like you got half the people being like, oh, they're shit, and you got the other half of people going, oh, they're fucking great. And it's the same thing with news media. You got the people who hate Fox love CNN, and the people who fucking hate CNN love Fox, and somewhere in the middle is MSNBC. And I'm just saying, people are now hearing it over and over again. No one's telling the truth. No one is really reporting on the news. It's all op-ed. It's like they get on and it's opinion people. And it's like, I think I need to look a little bit more into this. And when somebody tells me this is the truth, I'm going to go find out if that really is the truth. And I think some people are finding out that what they're hearing or what's fed to them may not be the truth. And so they're like, hey, I just learned some shit. I'm going to break rank and I'm going to talk about this because I you know what? I'm not going to be forced to have a particular opinion just because my network says so.
No, I get what you're saying, but it still needs to be someone up high, Tim. It doesn't matter what. It's good that those people are actually going out and looking for those articles, but you still have to have someone deciding that article is worthy to be on their page, to be on their network, to be on their website. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that transition of power to a younger group that are more likely to be vapors or have friends that vape, because like you said, that's great that people are doing it. I haven't noticed that personally myself. I still have the same people on my page still write the same bullshit about, this and that, but without somebody up high saying, okay, you go ahead and print that.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's as high as the person at the top of the news sting. You got political influence coming in from the top of that going, this is what you're going to fucking talk about. Right. You're in an alliance with this particular party.
You still have companies like Fox and MSN has actually posted a couple things, and I know those are Associated Press articles. So a lot of times those are coming from some freelance writers, but you still have Vanity put out an article, great pro vaping article. Do you think that article makes vanity 10 years ago or 5 years ago? Probably not.
Probably not. But I mean, it's hard to say. But that's the whole thing is that, we have to, the seed has to start getting planted in people's minds to make them think, hey, maybe I should look at the other side of this argument. Maybe this isn't as drummed up as it really
We need more bloggers.
is.
Tim, you need to be a blogger.
Tim, do I have time to be a blogger?
Set aside some
cut
time.
out another 3 days of my week for writing a blog article and proofreading.
All right, Tim, I'm gonna throw it at you. If you had one, what would you name it?
My blog?
Yeah, what would you name your blog?
Oh my god.
A vaping blog. It'd be Paul's laughing. He's like, all right, I gotta see what Tim comes up with here. What would Tim's vaping blog article, what would it be called?
Under the Smoke.
Under the Smoke? No, you can't. Oh, you can't say smoke.
Why can't I say that? Because right now, all anybody gives a flying fuck about are cigarettes.
That's true.
And is vape? I mean, if you want to get into nuance and semantics, vaping is not smoke.
Yeah, everybody out there, X1 for Tim to start his own blog on vaping. X1.
I can't even get him to make a bumper for me. You think they're gonna endorse a blog?
X1
a weekly blog?
If you want Tim to start a vaping blog. Everybody out there, X1.
Here we go. Here we go.
And I promise I won't drink Foster's.
I won't drink the
No, I'm not making fun of you, Paul. I'm on your side. I'm just saying I won't. I won't touch it with a 10-foot fucking pole. I know the harms.
You'll turn into a radiator and you'll end up in a car. That's the problem.
I'll get attacked by funnel web spiders. That's what's going to happen.
But yeah, probably. Another question about the media. We see different platforms now, and especially YouTube with their advertising and how they're playing with the advertising.
Mm-hmm.
We see advertising now on Twitter. We see advertising in just about every form of society. How do we break that cycle and advertise even just a little bit of truth instead of okay, in the United States you have you have drug advertising on TV.
Mm-hmm.
We're not allowed to have that here either.
You mean like, do you have mental health issues, try this medicine, that kind of thing?
Yeah. We're not allowed to have any of that. It's quite strange.
It is strange. It is strange to me because it seems like, well, I don't know, drug commercials aside, it just seems like they're allowed to push the advertising about stuff that is counterintuitive to our particular fight. That stuff is allowed to run on media left and right, but that's money, right? Because to buy advertising slots, you got to have some coin behind you, and our money is highly fractured. It either goes to advocacy groups or advocacy fighting groups and stuff like that. It doesn't go. There's not this one centralized media. I mean, a marketing advocacy thing that says, okay, I want everybody to donate to this so we can try to earn $1 million in the next month so we can go ahead and run an ad on friggin' NBC. That's a 30-second slot that, we'll run at 2 a.m. Like, it's just so hard to overcome. We don't have the money to buy into an advertising campaign.
Everybody chip in for next year's Super Bowl commercial. 30-second Super Bowl commercial on vaping.
Yeah, let's get Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and 50 Cent to hang upside.
Snoop Dogg. That's going the other way.
Hang upside down and promote vaping at the halftime show.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg would be the wrong guy. He'd be the wrong one to promote.
No, because everybody loves Snoop.
Everybody loves Snoop.
Who gives a shit if the guy smokes weed until he's blue in the face? Everybody likes Snoop.
Only Snoop Dogg can get away with saying, "Yeah, I smoked one just before the show."
Nobody gives a shit if he smokes.
Smoking stuff.
He can smoke fucking 800 pounds in a day, and no one will give a shit what Snoop does.
Care. Yeah. On your end there, I kind of have a question for you there in Australia. I mean, are there a lot of publications out there? Is a newspaper still a big deal there? Do people still buy newspapers?
to a point, but here in Australia, 70% of all media, pardon me, is controlled by Murdoch.
Okay, but as far as the newspapers, could the Citizen run an ad like Dimitri did here there in Australia? No.
No, because then the TGA would step in and they would fine you.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I
No,
was just wondering. I was
you
wondering.
can't play. You can't play that game.
Yeah. So you could,
But from an advocacy standpoint, they've tried to get releases in publications here, and it's just fallen on deaf ears, or
yeah.
that it'll run once and then it'll be shut down, and then you'll get a nice little letter from the TGA saying, "But you're promoting vaping, and here's a fine."
Yeah.
Right, and that's the other thing that is hard for us to do is get advertising onto mainstream channels and promote something that real quickly you really can't promote. You know, it'd have to be homegrown public broadcasting TV shit.
Well, what do we have? What do we have here, Tim? That comes on late at night that you can actually, if you want it to go on TV, if you want
public broadcasting.
Public broadcasting.
Well, who the fuck watches PBS?
Yes, PBS.
Nobody watches PBS anymore. We used to, not here. Not here.
You upset the people in Australia. They still watch PBS.
PBS became nothing but telethons at some point, I believe. It was like you know, what the comedian guy, the old comedian guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, what's his name? Jerry Lewis. It'd be like the Jerry Lewis telethon, and it would be on for like 18 hours straight, and all you did was see fucking celebrities get up with 25 people behind them on telephones ringing, taking pledges.
But I'm talking about, like, doesn't each like city have like their own public broadcasting system? Isn't it like, I'm thinking back to Wayne's World. You know how Wayne World had the Aurora public television network or whatever, where it's just late. Yeah, you know what I'm talking. I wonder if you could get away with like say I wanted to just run a pro vaping 30-minute show on my local broadcast. Could I get away with that? I'm wondering if that would still violate some sort of, I don't know, advertisement of vaping. I was just wondering if someone could do that. Just say, hey, go to their local broadcasting. Now, every big major city, even small cities, have a local broadcasting system where you can go in. And I understand it'd probably be like 2:30 in the morning, but you're still going to get some people to watch it.
Yeah, I'm curious about that, because
how that would work.
Well, even at the small end of the spectrum, that's a grassroots type of idea.
Yeah. Why hasn't anybody done that? I mean, you can do that. I know I have.
No,
I watch. Unfortunately, that's how I have to watch my city council meetings, is through the local channel that's on TV, because you know, when the doors were closed and nobody can go because of COVID, they would broadcast the whatever was going on inside there through the local broadcasting channel. And I'm just wondering what's stopping me to say, going in there, here's my $300, let me have 30 minutes of airtime and just have people on that, like here, and just go.
I think the problem with media is I mean, they'll take your money, but you also have to be someone who's willing to not be a quote unquote martyr, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems like with everything, I mean, it's just like the PACT Act and the USPS ban. It's like FedEx and UPS didn't have to quit carrying vape shit. No one put them under the gun, but they friggin' pulled the plug too, because they're like, we don't want to be the martyr. We don't want to be the big bad boys that are carrying vape stuff around. So they just followed suit. And I think media channels are the same thing. They're like, you know, it's great that you want to give us $300 for a time. Yeah. But the moment I put this on my channel, all of a sudden I'm going to be the ire of the media broadcasting.
Boycott. How do you boycott the public network?
And I'm going to have all the big boys coming after me. I'm going to get canceled. My network will get, or my show or my whatever will get canceled, because I'm going to be seen as the one going against the grain. So
but those are usually air channels. I mean, it's, you get it through your antenna.
What about internet radio? What about internet? I mean, there's all kinds.
This right here.
Well, like I have a couple. These people don't have control over what makes it onto that particular station. But what I'm saying is they know the program directors and they know the people. I mean, there's all kinds of. I don't want to call it pirate radio because it's really not that anymore. But I mean, now a lot of people are doing these internet broadcasts through these different media channels.
Right.
And you might know one or two people that are actually the hosts of those shows, and see if they can't somehow get in with the program director and say, "Hey, on my show, can we run? We have segues. Can we run this particular ad? Like, and get them to do the voiceover or something like that, and see if we can't just get little dings, and then that message gets out that way." But again, you have to convince the person who's running that show that that it's okay, like that they're okay to do that there's not any risk. Like, look, I don't want to lose my fucking radio station because of some fucking vape stuff.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's, you tried just as much as the assholes ants try to communicate across the social media channels. We go out across the internet. A lot of that stuff is global.
Yeah.
Though that messaging is global. Anybody, people from Belgium and friggin' Ukraine and the world can listen to that show. All they gotta do.
We're starting to see here now in Australia geo-blocking becoming a very big thing. That they're actually blocking certain forms of information.
Yeah,
and I brought this up a couple of years ago on a show that I was on, and I had someone verify it for me, like switch their VPN to Australia, and bang, they couldn't see it. And I'm like, right, so I'm not dreaming. They are actually blocking specific forms of information.
Yeah.
And I'm worried now that this will become a bigger thing as we progress. Look, no one.
Your mic is hot. She says, Shannon says, your mic is hot.
Just lean back from it, like about half an inch. Just lean back a little bit. It's when you come up right on top of it.
Yeah, all right. Hang on.
There you go. Perfect. Let's stay right there. Stay right there.
I'm curious. Oh, God, here we go. No, you get us kicked off air for copyright.
That wasn't even in key, so we don't have nothing to worry about of me singing and getting kicked off.
Yeah, all right. But how do we stop that as well?
That one I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it seems like I don't know if what angle that comes from. I don't know if that's an FCC thing, or like here we would have the FCC that would like try to filter out particular types of messaging and all that stuff. I mean, it's just so tricky. I'm just saying you got to try to find an angle to get the message out and get it, broadcast over a wider range. But I mean, internet radio. Like Luke said, like vape radio. Yes, okay. I do mean that, but they already have a specific goal in mind. That's what that station is all about. Of course, you're going to get that kind of positive broadcasting from them. I'm talking about permeating shows that previously didn't even highlight, like the radio shows I listen to on the internet are about music. They don't even broadcast any negative vaping commercials. What I'm saying is those are pristine. Those are virgin areas to tap into. If you could get into those and get your message allowed to be played on those particular radio stations, even if it's like a little 10-second segue, make it something about, are you a smoker? Have you ever wanted to quit? Vaping is the future. Here's a contact. Reach out to us. We can steer you in the right direction. Make it somewhat political. Like, do you feel your rights are being trampled on? Yeah. Are you a vapor? Do you feel like you're getting ready to lose your right? Contact us to learn how to advocate and fight. Things like that. Like you gotta. you know,
got to turn it into an infomercial in a way.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to have that much time on a radio show like that. You're going to get a little 10, 15-second segue
in
between the break of them playing a block of songs and going into the next block of songs. Yeah. You're not going to have 30-second segments. Right. You're not going to have minute segments to get a bunch of information out. They're not going to have you on the show to talk about vaping. That kind of, they're not going to do that.
Luke, you're killing me, Luke. Hey, that's gonna happen on this show one of these days. Me, Tim,
ASMR will ruin vaping.
We will go on, and me, Paul, and Tim will just. At tonight's show, we're going to talk about.
Fuck that.
30 flavors.
As soon as I know it's one of those videos, 2 seconds in, I swipe. Goodbye. You go ahead and whisper and scratch all you want for the next 3 hours. I am not watching that shit. Sorry. It almost creeps me out. It creeps me out. It's fucking creepy. No, John, stop now before I friggin' boot you from the show. It's fucking creepy.
All right. Tim, are you ready for some news?
Hang on. One more question.
All right, I guess.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah, hit me.
If we can't get an advocacy type post put out on mainstream media, what about if a doctor were like similar to advocacy, but a true definition of what can and what can't help?
But I think that's what they're limited to. I mean, you can't really say it's help. You can't say it has health benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, the FDA prohibits you from doing that.
Yeah.
Especially if he's a doctor that's what his history is, that Colin helps people kick the habit. He gives them devices and things like that. Like they would shut him down here so quick because he's made it his mission. He's not, he's not just like a mouth, lung, and nose doctor that, is like, those people can't say it's better for you.
Right.
So you're kind of screwed.
You are screwed.
All right. My articles tonight. Go ahead and throw me my intro because we can talk. We can talk about this stuff.
Let me make sure I have the other thing up too.
Play Barney again.
I want the
I don't want I love you, I love me.
I want the scroller thing on there.
What? Barney.
It was so epic. I'm sorry, I had to get into the moment. All right, tappity tap tap tip 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 tipper 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 tip 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 Tepperton's and Timmy's on the mic. All right, hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? All right, so I got a couple articles. There's one that I wanted to specifically talk about because this one was a bit viral last week, and I think it's worth talking about. Right? Like this is not. I'm not bringing this article up to promote anything that has to do with kids, but this has to do with kids, right? Right. So hold on, let me share my screen. And I think everybody probably knows where I'm going with this one because this has been a hot button thing that's been all over Twitter in the last 3 or 4 days. Share screen. Okay. And I just want to talk about it because it's not about the association of anything. It's about we're seeing this 3 times now, okay? 3 times, and it's not that guy. He's just doing an article about it. But I don't know how many people, by a show of hands, saw the video all over Twitter in the last few days where the kid got tased at the skate park for a quote-unquote supposedly vaping.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. Okay? He was approached. He was told to get down on the ground. He got tased one time, and he stood there like a champ and took it. He wasn't resisting, and then she shot him with the taser a second time. All right, so I wanted to talk about this article, right? Because I just want to get people's opinion on things, right? Because I mean, the reality is that I grew up when I grew up around smoking, right? There weren't things as vaporizers that I was aware of at that time. I don't even think it was a consideration. I mean, 20 years, I think vaping's been around. I'm 53. Yeah, it definitely was not around when I was in my teens. Yeah. But I don't remember anybody, a kid getting busted for smoking or whatnot, a cop ever approaching a kid smoking cigarettes and tasing them. Of course, tasers weren't around then either. Or being approached by a cop in an aggressive way to the point where this is the reactionary measure of a. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Hold on one second. Of a person in a position of authority to stop somebody from doing something that both people know they shouldn't be doing. Okay, but is it that severe, right? I mean, is the violation that severe that it gets to this level? So this, I'm not trying to make this a social issue. This is where we are right now. This is where the bans and the demonization of something that is clearly. I mean, you'd think this kid was sitting there in front of everybody shooting heroin. Yeah. You know, even though he's not even being violent. So the eyewitness came out, and and I'll get to the names here in a minute. So this happened, I think it was 3 days ago. Happened here in Atlanta, as a matter of fact. An eyewitness has come forward about the incident involved in Atlanta police involved when an Atlanta police officer tased a 17-year-old at a skate park. You just saw the video right there. It's kind of cut off. Unfortunately, I think what a lot of people argued is that you didn't get to see the full context of the video, meaning like you didn't get to see the conversation that the police officer was having with the kid prior to tasing them. It just kind of like started right when the kid got tased for the most part. The kid's name is Terrion Fortson, and he in that video now apparently has about over 100,000 views. The witness that spoke up, his name is Brendan Aldridge, and he said he was scared because, you know, past events of police officers and black people, you expect him to be shot, but she didn't. Brendan Aldridge was at historic 4th Ward skate park. Now, in that regard, I'm like, they're at a skate park, all right? Remember when we used to have a conversation about that shit? It's like, you know, build the skate parks, you know, and then the kids, you know, they'll have a place to go where they're not like getting into trouble, okay? Well, they weren't getting into trouble. They were just chilling at a skate park. Yeah. And Brendan said, you know, we were at the skate park when everything happened. His comment was he was only vaping. So I want to read that his little comment. He said, here it is. It said, Brendan Aldridge was at historic 4th Ward skate park on Thursday when everything happened. He said he was only vaping. She asked him for his ID. He was being calm. He wasn't being like, no, I'm not going to show you my ID. She tased him. It was crazy because while he was on the ground shaking, she was like, get down, like he wasn't already on the ground. It was even crazier. Like 6 other police officers pulled up and they were all dapping each other up saying, what's up, hugging. I'm like, what is this? This is just crazy. It made no sense. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is that, you know, this fight has been taken to the kids now, right? And I think that this is just unjust in its own right. Like that kid, she could have easily, in her position of authority, walked up and said, you know, either you can't be vaping, man. You need to, you know, you need to hand it over and confiscate it. But she didn't need to approach him with any sort of element of violence. And then the police did come back. The police were actually asked. So here's what the police said. On March 24th, 2022, around 4:30 p.m., an officer assigned to Beltline observed a male vaping in a city park. This could have been an adult for all, you know. She didn't even ID the kid. He could have been 21 years old. He could have been 35 years old. She didn't fucking know. The officer encountered a male, advised him of the law, and advised him he could not vape there. Now, if you're talking about vaping in public, this wasn't even an underage issue, right? Apparently she's telling him you just can't vape here in the park. It's a no vaping smoking area. The male walked away and continued to vape. The officer approached the male again and requested his identification in an effort to issue the male a citation. The male refused to comply and physically resisted the officer's efforts to detain him. Where did you see him resisting? He wasn't resisting shit. He just stood there. Other than he didn't obey her command. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. If that you call that resisting, okay, whatever. We got kids getting stripped in one city, and we got kids getting tased in Atlanta, all over vape devices. The male continued resisting detention, and the officer eventually utilized her taser to detain him. After being tased, the male was placed into handcuffs without further incident. We are aware of the incident, and we are aware of the video circulating on social media showing a portion of the encounter. We will be reviewing the entire video related to this incident to determine all of the facts. At this time, the investigation continues. How many people wonder whether or not we'll get to see the body cam footage from that one? I don't know. Maybe because he's underage, they can't show it. I don't know. Right? He's probably protecting.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think because he's underage.
Right. So he was charged with disorderly conduct. He's now home and recovering, and now the Atlanta NAACP is investigating the incident. Yeah, Ben Crump was on Twitter today talking about it. So, I mean, this is scary to me, right? Because eventually it could be that we all are under the same restrictions, right? I mean, it could get to the point where we're not allowed to vape. You know what I mean? And think about that. Think about what that means to a police officer. So let's say we decide to say, you know, what's the quote everybody says? Not resistance, but, you know, basically go against being ordered around. I forget the comment. There's like a little saying that people say. But I'm just saying it's scary to me.
Obedient?
No, not obedient. There's like a statement that people say, basically like to defy the law. There's like a little one sentence thing people say all the time. Anyway, I'm not going to try to remember it.
Compliant.
But, yeah, like don't comply is sort of like the statement, you know. But I'm just saying that's scary. We're talking about vape, and people are getting tased over something that is not really harmful.
Yeah.
And so it just bothers me that we keep seeing this over and over and over again. So my question was, did you think those actions were necessary? Did you think that was excessive? Why are we at this point in the game? I never saw a kid get taken down by a cop for smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like they might pull up to you and go, "Hey, you need to put that out. You're not supposed to be smoking." Fine, yeah. I'll put it on the ground, stomp it out, and then as soon as you drive away, I'll light up another one. You know what I mean? We were that defiant. It just scares me that kids are being attacked like that.
I mean, I've been through this with my son, and I know what happens. Like here, when they caught him with cigarettes, basically the cop took them from him, crushed him, threw him on the ground, stepped on him, smashed him, and on your way. But I tell you, if my son got tased, boy, I would not be a happy camper. But then again, as a parent, I'm going to say, did you comply? Did you listen to the officer? Everything goes a lot smoother in that situation if you listen to the officer and stop going into these, I'm going to not listen. I'm going to be, I'm going to be that guy. You're going to be that guy. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get tased. Also, I don't know. I kind of see it. This is bad. Don't get me wrong. This is bad, but maybe this is a sign that maybe they are starting to do something about teen smoking. Maybe this is something. Hopefully, No, they're not. But it needs to be done. Not at this extreme, but they need to have those task force back out there. They need to have these kids going into these stores and trying to buy cigarettes and trying to go after these store owners, these people that are sitting.
But here's my question, though, John. Here's my question. Yeah.
Let me finish. And go after these individuals and have some laws that are going to really, really punish these people for selling to these guys. I mean, until that happens, they're never going to stop taking that kid thing out of the narrative in our fight, because they're always going to throw the kids in there. And unless, the police and the store owners and everybody else realizes, hey, I can get in some big fucking trouble if I buy cigarettes or buy some vape devices for kids.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I think absolutely the retail outlets or the brick and mortars that sell this stuff, if they're caught violating and selling to underage people, I think without a doubt. But no cop is going to walk into one of those stores and tase the friggin' owner for selling a vaporizer to a kid.
Extreme. That's the extreme.
This is just right. And is it about cracking down on underage this or underage that?
Yeah.
Here's one thing we never see one article about, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that we don't ever hear one article about some kid in a skate park who was smoking a cigarette and he got tased because he was smoking a cigarette. And I'm not trying to play whataboutism. What I'm saying is that does it not scare everybody that when it comes to vaping and a kid doing it, they're tased and taken to the ground like they're getting ready to shoot a gun. But if a kid is caught smoking a cigarette, which I'm sure plenty of them get caught doing that shit too, you never hear an article on the news or see a video of a kid that got tased or friggin' strong-armed by an officer. Like I said, we got kids being nearly strip searched in a school by a superintendent over fucking stupid jewels.
Yeah.
And then we get 3 times now we got kids on video getting tased because they were quote unquote supposedly vaping. I think that is a scary precedent that's been set. Whether a kid is underage or not, you're right. He shouldn't be vaping. Okay.
Where was this, Tim, by the way?
Atlanta. This happened right here in my town.
Atlanta.
So what I'm saying is that there's a clear biomarker, or not a biomarker, but a clear marker set that the authorities are told to treat this completely different than any other violation that an underage kid or anybody might commit. And that's problematic for me.
Yeah.
And that could mean us, right? Yeah. Because we could get flavors taken away from us and we're not supposed to have them. And we're standing out in somewhere in front of our house and some kid and the cop smells strawberry. And then out comes a taser. But over what? What?
Yeah.
It's anyway. So I'm gonna move on from this one.
Tim, I just see that next article. Can you, when you get a chance, send me that. I don't want you to read it here on the show, but send me that. I'm kind of curious to read that. Why they had to give it back.
Medicinal? I don't know. Yeah. All right, so why not talk about cannabis while we're on?
Look at those buds. Look at those buds.
All right. So, but this is an interesting one, okay? I want to hold on, Luke. You said not saying this. This is why it went viral, but I believe it's less about vaping and more. Luke, I agree. I think it's more about the cop shit. I think that's and the fact that he was a young kid too. But what I'm saying, though, is that if you take that out of the equation and you just break it down to the encounter, that's where it becomes problematic for me, because that's just insane. And she's a female cop, by the way. That was a female. That was not a male. You know, whether that kid was 2 times her size or whatever. Yeah. There's no reason for us to ever be at that level where over stupid vaping. People are getting electrocuted, nearly electrocuted.
It didn't seem like she was ever threatened. Or
did you see her backing up? Did you see her running away? Okay. Nope. Anyway, let's move on. So this is an interesting one to me. E-cigarettes may act as a gateway drug for cannabis use. Yes, it's a gotcha headline, right?
Yeah.
Sure. You know, hey, who all recognizes the one operative word in that title of that article? What's the one operative negative word in there?
Oh, gateway.
No. May.
Oh, May.
Yeah, it's like with every vaping conversation that we have that might, it's possible, it may, you know, it's probable, you know. I mean, all of these words that are used that people think mean absolution. Anyway, so let's talk about this, right? So is e-cigarettes the gateway? Thank you, Modern Vapor, for seeing that. That's the first thing that jumped out at me. As soon as I read it to myself, I'm like, oh, here we go with the maze again. But let's talk about whether or not e-cigarettes are a gateway to vaping. or I mean, a gateway to cannabis use. So a new study, why it's all about Georgia today. Atlanta, the kid gets in the hot water, and say a new study performed by researchers at Georgia State suggests that e-cigarettes are potentially a gateway drug for using cannabis. Although here's the kicker. This is significantly affected by an individual's mental health status. All right, so wrap your head around that just on the onset. These researchers, they were hanging on the e-cigarette argument that due to the addictive nature of nicotine, they made the gateway statement based on mental health status and the type of mental disorder they experience. All right, sorry, I'm going to hack this name to death. Zhidong Huang is obviously an Asian researcher, associate professor of health management.
You're racist.
I'm not racist. I said Asian.
I'm kidding.
Associate professor of health management and policy in the School of Public Health commented. All right, I want to read what his comment was. We know from existing literature that e-cigarette use is associated with subsequent cannabis use, particularly in youth and young adults. We also know that some population subgroups, such as certain minority populations and those with mental health problems, are more likely to use tobacco products. What we need to better understand is the link between e-cigarette use and subsequent cannabis use among these subgroups. So the study was published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. The team utilized 4 years of data between the years of 2013 and 2018 from a PATH study. That PATH stands for...
No. PATH study? I don't know.
Okay, well, they claim that that's where the data came from. Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health. I can't dispute where they claim they got it from. The study sample included youths aged from 12 to 17 who reported never using cannabis at the study's inception. The researchers controlled for factors such as age, race, ethnicity, parental education, and state laws, right? Because some states actually have legalized marijuana or it's medicinal and other things. So they took that into account. So based on those factors, at the 2-year mark, cannabis use, now these are with people who were e-cigarette users going into this. At the 2-year mark, cannabis use was 13.8% for those, was 13 let me rephrase. For those who used e-cigarettes prior to the study, or at the time the study started, 12 to 17 years old, at the 2-year mark, cannabis use was 13.8%. So after 2 years under this study, and these were people that were vaping, that was the percentage of people out of the total number. They didn't say how many kids that was. 13.8% of them had started trying or using cannabis. For those who did not use e-cigarettes, the prevalence was measured at 2.2% at the 2-year mark, 2.4% at the 3-year mark, and 2.9% at year 4. They also found that cannabis use was more frequent for those who reported a high severity of mental issues. So let's now talk about the mental issues and how they were assessed. The types of mental health problems were then looked at. So first of all, they studied who did and who didn't vape and who was using cannabis after the certain time period and yada, yada, yada. They discovered that the association between cannabis use and vaping depended on whether the mental health issues were externalizing, so oppositional, impulsive, or risk-taking behavior, or internalizing, anxiety or depression. Those with externalizing mental health issues were more likely to start using cannabis over those who were internalizing. And then the exact opposite was true for those who were internalizing. And then Huang made another statement down here. I got to find it now. Okay, here. Huang said mental health problems are generally associated with higher levels of tobacco use and cannabis use. So our hypothesis was that e-cigarette users with mental health problems are going to be more likely to incite or initiate cannabis use compared with e-cigarette users without mental health problems. But what we found was that there is a great deal of nuance based on the type of mental health problems that e-cigarette users are facing. So again, externalizing is oppositional, impulsive, or risk-taking versus internalizing those who have anxiety or depression. They theorized that this might be due to several reasons. People with internalizing mental health issues feel isolated and therefore have fewer opportunities to attain cannabis or socialize with those who are using it. So I don't know if that's true. I don't have depression and anxiety. So if there's anybody in the chat that does suffer from those particular conditions, I'm not going to ask you if you smoke pot or not. I really don't give a shit whether you do or you don't. Anybody here in this chat vapes. But do you agree with that statement? Because of your anxiety, because of your depression, that you find you internalize more and you don't associate socially. You're more isolated, more hermetized or whatever. You're uncomfortable around people. You don't flock to groups, what have you. I just wanted to know, based on this is sort of a test study, right? Is that true? Or do you have depression and anxiety and you're a party fucking animal? I don't know. I'm just asking because I just wanted to know if what they're saying compared to a small subset here, if that was true. E-cigarettes may be enough to help them cope with their anxiety and depression and may be less likely to engage in the other substance. And that could be true as well. You could have anxiety and depression, and vaping helps you to deal with that sort of stuff, and that you don't need something else, right? This is all about going to the next thing, because a lot of people will say, oh, marijuana helps me with my anxiety or my depression, or helps me with the issues that I have. It relaxes me or whatever. I don't know. I can only go with what these papers publish, right? So you guys are the perfect subset to state whether or not some of this shit is true. Just like vaping is going to make your ding dong shrink, or whatever the article was, impotence or whatever.
Impotent, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to finish out with Huang's last statement. He concluded the reasons to use cannabis or e-cigarettes may be very different depending on the type of mental health problems that people are experiencing. People with internalizing mental health problems may be using substances on a more regular basis or using them alone because that's their coping mechanism. But those with externalizing mental health problems might only use substances on occasions when they're with their peers because it's a way of acting out.
Yeah.
So I mean, who's to say? Now they're saying that if it's not just point blank a gateway drug for everybody. Just saying that if you have these particular mental conditions that you deal with, you're more prone if you're a vapor and you have externalizing methodologies to dealing with things, that you're going to probably most likely be inclined to transition more than someone who has anxiety or depression. So anyway, I don't know. Nobody really seemed to comment back on that, so I'm just going to assume everybody here is not getting high. I'm joking. I don't care what you do. Anyway, all right, so there's that one. I just thought that to be really interesting. Yeah, the dangers of marijuana are eating that shit. Yeah, that's
exactly
right.
The pizza, burger, fries.
Right. All right.
I
so
want that.
Yeah. So let's move.
I want
Dude,
that now.
I real quick. I Uber Eated the other night because I got $30 off on my tab, and I ordered from this place not far from here. It's called Smokey's Barbecue or something like that. Okay. They had a hamburger that was like a triple. They were all half-pound patties, 3 of the motherfuckers, with cheese and then onion rings on the fucking top. I was like, you know what? I want to order it. I really, 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 really want to order that, but I'm not gonna, because that's just indulgence to the nth degree. Oh wait, that's it. Smoky Bones, Smoky Bones, and
like
here in Beaufort. If anybody likes Google Smoky Bones in Atlanta and look up the friggin' burger with the 3 friggin' half-pound patties on. Like, you'd be like, I want that.
I want that.
I want that, but how are they going to get it in a box? There's no way they're going to get it in a box. It's going to be, you're going to have to build the son of a bitch when it gets to your house. Anyhow, all right, let's move on to some advocacy. All right, so this is a follow-up, right? So I think we talked about this like 2 weeks ago. The flavor ban in Connecticut, or Connecticut, if you like to pronounce words exactly as they're spelled. They have a House bill that was up in front of the Committee on Public Health. It's House Bill, or sorry, SB, or I guess that's Senate Bill 367. And that basically said it would ban the sale of vapor products and flavors other than tobacco and establish a nic cap on nicotine level content, nothing above 35 milligrams per milliliter. All right, so they put this up. They had a hearing on it on March 14th, this month. And then it went to the committee, and the committee had a favorable vote on it, which means that it is past the committee, the flavor ban. But that's not the end of the road for this bill. It doesn't go into law. It's still got to get past the Connecticut House and Senate committees. So there's still a chance to fight against it, really. And so you can go on to CASA's website. You can go to your local CASA calls to action. Basically, we've said this a million times. You guys know the routine. You want to read the context of the bill, it's there posted for you. And then you just fill in some basic information, and it will actually probably bring up your ward people, or the people that are your representatives in your particular county or your district or whatever. And there's a letter already written. If you want to just run with the letter that CASA has scribed, you have 1,183 additional characters you can add. You can tell your story. You can wipe out whatever CASA typed and put your own commentary. So I encourage anybody, if you have friends in Connecticut, if you are in Connecticut and you don't want to be suffering of flavor ban, I certainly encourage you to get your voice heard. And with that, my friends,
damn,
that was a tornado from Australia right into our earphones.
That's one of those red death devils.
Tappity tap. And with that said, John, back to you in the studio.
Back to the studio. Just for those. Never mind. I'm gonna ask for her permission first before I post something. It's about helping someone get started vaping, but I'll ask her first, maybe for next week's show.
Okay,
I'll bring it up there.
What was the name of that burger shop? I need to have a look at
Smoky Bones.
Dude, I don't think they're gonna Uber to your house there.
Hey, fucking FedEx it overnight. Come on.
FedEx it.
Hold on, I got the site right here. Hold on.
You can have this one. You can have this one.
No,
no.
That's not the one. Okay, just because I already friggin'
Tim
talked
saved
about
that
it.
Picture.
Well, let me see if I can find it. Hold on one second. They don't have it on their
so
site.
Good. Tim saved.
Hold on. I'll bring the son of a bitch up on Uber Eats. Hold on one second before we log out of here.
I need to see this burger.
Oh yeah.
I could eat that burger maybe 25 years ago. Probably could eat that thing and probably wouldn't have a problem with it.
All right, their shop is closed right now, but I just got to show you the burger. So the picture is going to be a little grayed out. Hold on, I got to find
thumbnail.
it.
Yeah, you can blow it up. You can blow
all
it
right,
up.
hold on. Okay, let me share my screen real quick. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this burger? All right, wait, I gotta share my screen. Ready? 1, 2, fucking 3. Look at that motherfucker.
Oh yeah,
right
that's
there.
a heart attack.
Dude, that's 3 half. Look at that. 3 half-pound patties, cheddar cheese, house smoked, hand pulled pork on top of all that. Onion rings, onion tanglers, and coleslaw on top of it. Served. Wait. And for coup de grace, served with your choice of one side.
Yeah.
Would you like the sweet potato fries with that?
The coleslaw's to help it process in your stomach so you can shit
Oh
it out
my god!
later.
I wanted to order that so freaking bad, and the problem is they tell you what like the average diet should be, like 2,000 calories a day is for general. That's like 8,000 calories right there.
Yeah,
There's no way that's way more than 2,000 right there.
Yeah. When you see shit like that,
that's your O face burger right there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the burger you have to have a knife and a fork with. That's what that is.
I'm sure the picture doesn't even do it justice. I bet you that's the messiest damn burger you'll ever eat.
It comes on its own trailer
like that. But I watch a lot of the cooking shows and stuff like that are on TV, and they always bring up the fact that how us Americans just indulge. We have to have the the buffets. We have to have the oversized platters. We have to have not a half-pound burger, but a pound burger. And when you see shit like that, it's hard to argue with those guys when they say those statements.
If that isn't a gateway drug to cannabis use, I don't know what is.
Hang on. Other way around. You need the cannabis to get the burger.
I'm saying the only way you're going to be able to eat that is if you friggin' get high as hell. You're not going to be able to eat that in a normal state of mind.
Yeah, there's just that's just that feeling you have when you just ate too much. And that's like taking it to the extreme with that burger.
Yeah. Why isn't the government trying to get rid of that thing?
Yeah. Well, that's why they brought.
That's an artery clogger right there.
What do they call that? Onset child diabetes? Isn't that what it's called?
I don't know. It looks like it looks like a blood clot going right to your friggin' heart. That's what it looks like.
But isn't that one of the topics that our government has been pushing a couple years ago? Was onset child diabetes here in the United States was on the rise. Yeah,
probably.
There you go, son. What do you want?
Yeah, I don't think you get diabetes. I don't think you get diabetes from a hamburger.
Yeah,
I think you get diabetes from about 35 sleeves of Snickers bars, but
but you can get onset diabetes from eating like that all the time. You get fat, you end up getting diabetes.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can't eat like that all the time. Hey,
that would have been
I
with meals for 3 days.
I would be proud if I saw some kid just eat that whole thing and not even skip a beat. I'd look at that kid and go, yeah, buddy.
Modern, I agree with you. And you know what? I did get an alternative burger that wasn't like that, but it was stacked with pulled pork on top of that and coleslaw on top of that. And it had, it had fried pickles on top. Instead of the onion rings, it had fried pickles. And I had them add pepper bacon or whatever to the top of it.
Pepper bacon.
Yeah. So it was a banging little. I didn't need build it and they will come. That's what I'm gonna call that burger. Build it and they will come.
Build it.
And I mean that on a couple different levels. But I had the alternative and it was really good. So I can imagine that was
the chef at the restaurant's got to go, motherfucker, somebody ordered that damn thing, because that's got to be a pain in the ass to put together.
Who knows? Maybe one day I will order it and I'll give you a review.
Eat it live. Order it and have it brought when we're doing the show, just so we can see you holding this stack of fucking meat.
I don't even think I could open my mouth that wide to even get a bite. I literally have to I don't know how you would eat that.
Knife and fork.
That's a pound and a half. That's a pound and a half of meat.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the meat sweats when you're done.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. And as we get older, as we are, you kind of don't want that feeling anymore. It wasn't so bad when you were younger and you kind of sitting there going, "Oh God," but now it's like when I get to that point, like after Thanksgiving dinner, I'm literally. I wish I regret everything I ate.
Right.
Thanksgiving dinner. Dude.
Anyway, enough about food. It's a vaping show.
Food is king. Food is king.
No, Luke. I've never had the Juicy Lucy.
Yeah. Someday we'll do a food and beverage pairing with our vape show.
Beast. You know what? I don't think that there's any particular reason why you couldn't fill out that particular thing. You know what? You could flat out lie and just go find an address in Connecticut and pump that in.
Yeah, just put it in there.
Right? Are they really going to friggin'
they
trace you back to your origin and look at your IP? I doubt it. You could probably just get a business location in Connecticut.
Yeah, because you just have to. I think it's just. Is it the zip code too? You need to have.
You have to put your name in, your address, and your city and your zip code, and it will tell you who your district members are.
Yeah, you're right.
So you theoretically could probably find a bunch of addresses in a bunch of different districts and just change the name.
Yeah. Well, boy, look, fucking Paul. He's looking at he's trying to figure out what he can order to come to his house. Is that a Chinese food menu? It is.
Hey, that's good too because he'll have food for the next 4 days.
Chinese food is a gateway food to marijuana as well.
Yeah. Right on.
Hey, Paul, make sure you tell them no MSG. No MSG.
No, they don't. Honestly, this is like a little old hole in the wall Chinese restaurant just up the end of my street. Right?
So they use MSG.
No, they don't. This is traditional. Right. But I'm looking at this crab meat and sweet corn soup and a couple of other things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, guys, we are done. Don't forget to like, share, and follow if you're new to the channel. We always like to see that number go up. Give us a follow. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Tuesday, no. Thursday, I will have Phil Persardo on the other show. So not rape related, it's different stuff. So it's his personality, things he likes, and what he does for fun. So hope to see you guys on that show as well. And we are out of here. Tim, Paul, thank you for always being here and always having a great show. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday. What time, Tim?
6 p.m. my time. Figure it out.
Figure it out everywhere else.
East Coast time. I'm 6 p.m. 9 p.m. when the shit starts.
Get that compound chicken, Paul.
Yeah. So.